South Africa's top UN official could be in for some massive trouble with a new court case underway. Tlaleng Mofokeng, the United Nations Special Rapporteur for Health, has found herself in some hot water in recent days, and it appears that a lot of her hateful rhetoric on social media is coming back to bite her. Now, many people will remember that Tlaleng Mofokeng is somebody who is not only heavily anti-Israel, in fact, even denying Israel's right to exist in one of her posts, but is also somebody who has shown gross misconduct, so much so that one of South Africa's very own regulatory bodies for medicine decided to condemn her behavior. And while it did seem for a long time that she was evading punishment, finally, there's a court case that is getting underway in which Tlaleng Mofokeng might finally be punished for her wrongdoing. Now, before we get into this, could I please remind you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already? It's completely free to do, and all you have to do is click on the subscribe button below. If you would like to enjoy additional perks such as members-only videos, you can do so by becoming a Power Club member. All you have to do is click on the join button below the video. Now let's get started. So just to remind everybody why she is so controversial, Tlaleng Mofokeng is somebody who is, of course, spewed a lot of hateful rhetoric online, but in addition to that, there was a report earlier this year by UN Watch, which is a body which really monitors the behavior of the United Nations, and they found that she has actually been able to earn money, specifically from Georgetown University, to the tune of $250,000. Now, what's so worrying about this is the fact that Georgetown receives the majority of its foreign funding, so $1.1 billion out of a total $1.4 billion from Qatar. And it seems as if Qatar has really managed to pull off a strategic takeover of Georgetown University, otherwise known as the heart of American diplomacy. Now, for those of you who are not familiar about this topic and would like to learn more, you can check out my previous video on this issue, and the link to it should be appearing at the top of the video right now. But before we go off on a tangent, let's take a look at why it suddenly seems that Mofokeng is in hot water. So here we have an article courtesy of the South African Jewish Report explaining how Mofokeng returned to South Africa from the United Nations and now appears to be in for a legal fight. So it explains here how controversial Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng concluded her 6-year tenure as the UN Special Rapporteur on the right to health with praise from allies and blistering condemnation from critics. Mofokeng now returns to South Africa, where she is challenging a Health Professions Council of South Africa ruling that found her guilty of unprofessional conduct. So as you can see here, it explains that many different people and groups lauded her performance at the United Nations. However, one cannot deny that she is mired with controversy as well, and many of her detractors spoke out against her. So it explains here how when addressing the United Nations Human Rights Council, UN Watch's Executive Director Hillel Neuer accused Mofokeng of having praised Hamas, promote prostitution in Teen Vogue, and call the former British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak filthy. His remarks followed the release of UN Watch's latest report, From Watchdogs to Ideologues, which is the report I was talking about a little bit earlier, and it argues that a growing number of UN Special Rapporteurs have abandoned impartiality in favor of political activism. This week, Neuer told the South African Jewish Report that Mofokeng's tenure would be remembered not for advancing the universal right to health, but for politicizing it. Instead of acting as an impartial UN expert, she used her office to promote ideological causes, demonize democratic states, especially Israel, and engage in conduct that fell well below the standards expected of a UN Special Rapporteur. And so it's very clear that many people have a beef to pick with her. But what's particularly interesting is how her bad behavior resulted in legal action. So, While supporters praised her outspoken advocacy on sexual and reproductive health rights, critics accused her of abandoning the impartiality required of an independent UN expert through repeated attacks on Israel, inflammatory social media posts, and overt political activism. These concerns culminated in the HPCSA finding Mofokeng guilty of unprofessional conduct in October 2025 and fining her 10,000 rand for bringing the medical profession into disrepute through abusive and inappropriate language on social media. The complaint, lodged by the South African Zionist Federation, stemmed from social media posts in which Mofokeng wrote, "F.U. Netanyahu," in response to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and later referred to Neuer, who is the executive director of UN Watch, as "you evil white man, evil scum, futsak." The matter is now before the courts. The South African Zionist Federation confirmed this week that Mofokeng has instructed Public Interest Law Centre Section 27 to approach the High Court to review and set aside both the HPCSA's finding and the 10,000 rand sanction. One of the grounds for review raised is the immunities and privileges that Dr. Mofokeng enjoyed as the UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Health under the Diplomatic Immunities and Privileges Act. SAZF National Chairperson Crave Pantanovitz told this SA Jewish Report. As the matter is therefore currently before the courts, it would be inappropriate for SAZF to comment until the judicial process has been concluded. Mofokeng has meanwhile received public support from anti-Israel Gift of the Givers founder Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, who has offered to assist her with her legal challenge to the HPCSA ruling. And of course, that is a name that has cropped up on this channel many times, as has Gift of the Givers. And so we can see exactly where their political agenda lies. So what's particularly interesting about this case is the fact that it seems to have a backdoor Al Capone approach. Now remember, Al Capone was one of the most notorious gangsters of the 20th century, if not all time. And what was particularly interesting is that the FBI was able to bring him down not on his violent conduct, but on a charge of tax evasion. And it feels as if something very similar here is happening with Tlaleng Mofokeng. You see, many people will accuse her of illicit dealings, particularly given her questionable funding sources, as well as her conduct at the UN. But what might actually take her down is this Health Professionals Council decision to actually condemn Mofokeng for her social media behavior. And of course, the SAZF is not taking this lying down. While a potentially lengthy court battle awaits, it is quite a relief to know that this person will not be escaping justice easily, and that at the very least, she will have to pay for her actions by means of time, effort, and stress. Thank you very much for tuning into this video. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Until next time, I'm Matthew Cohen, and this is the Power Pod.